Man, so Josh Taylor just got his ass whooped. Let's talk about it. And after I just made my fancy video where I took like extra 30-45 minutes of my day editing that video on my phone, putting all types of cute pictures and videos and all types of stuff, just for Josh Taylor to go in there against Teofimo Lopez and pretty much get beat from pillar to post. Now, I was expecting a lot out of Josh Taylor this fight. I thought that the fight that he basically stole from Jack Catterall, that the judges stole from Jack Catterall, which is kind of a fluke. I was thinking, like, Josh Taylor has shown so many times, time and time again, that he's capable of, beating really good fighters. He beat Regis Prograis in a close fight. He beat Jose Ramirez in a dominant fashion. And I was just thinking, like, you know what? Teofimo Lopez, someone who's coming off of an underwhelming performance against Sandor Martin, that, Josh Taylor should pretty much have the ability to, beat Teofimo Lopez, just by maybe, and I said he'd most likely beat him by split decision or possibly unanimous decision. But lo and behold, I was completely wrong about that. Teofimo Lopez was pretty much hitting Josh Taylor with that straight right all night. It even got to the point where he was beating up on Josh Taylor so bad, and Josh Taylor's reflexes got so slow that he was able to like do some type of gazelle punch or Superman punch where he was coming way back and he was just tagging Josh Taylor, and Josh Taylor wasn't reacting to it at all. I'm talking about, it was like real bad. It was a real bad one-sided ass whooping. But, Josh Taylor really didn't make any adjustments during that fight. I pretty much had to fight 2 rounds to 10. And yeah, it was just like, there's really not much I could say about it, man. But all in all, I'm really intrigued, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Teofimo Lopez is going to do. Because like I said in that video that I spent so much time on, I basically said that Teofimo Lopez, when he is focused, is a damn good fighter. The only reason why I thought that he had lost to George Kambosos, and the only reason why I thought that he had lost to Sandor Martin, or not lost, or had a bad showing against Sandor Martin, was just due to the fact that he allowed his emotions to get the better of him, and that he came into the fight and absolutely showed no respect towards his opponent, and he was walking into punches, and he was just like, doing things and he was just making the fight much harder than it needed to be, and he wasn't fighting to his fullest potential because of his temperament. But in this fight, he was being incredibly patient. Like, there were times where he was throwing shots and he was trying to get Josh Taylor out of there, but he was never being impatient to the point where he was just like walking into shots. And even times where he had Josh Taylor hurt, it still seems like he wasn't being tentative, but he was still being a little bit, cautious and making sure that he wasn't getting hit with nothing big, and he was still, making sure he had good head movement. And it just shows his natural talent. Like, he's a young man who is extremely naturally talented. That's like the best way I can describe him. He has very fast hands. He has a lot of power. He has good upper body movement. His feet can move pretty good too when he wants them to. He's a very like athletically gifted fighter, and you saw that in the Lomachenko fight when he was going to Lomachenko's body. Because when you saw Devin Haney going to Lomachenko's body, it was different. Lomachenko was willing to take those shots, but when Teofimo Lopez, with his big, strong freaking punches, was going to Lomachenko's body, he had Lomachenko scared to even throw a punch throughout almost the entire round. He had Lomachenko just sitting there, just trying to figure him out, not doing nothing, just frozen, because he knew what was coming back at him was so fierce. And then during the second half of the fight, Lomachenko really turned up on him. But like I said, to Teofimo Lopez's credit, he had a lot of fight in him, and he just, threw out caution to the wind, started fighting back against Lomachenko, and put an exclamation point on that final round, making him the undisputed, or the unified, if you don't consider the franchise belt undisputed. I don't really care. I'm not here to argue over semantics, but pretty much getting him that win over Vasily Lomachenko. But in this fight, I thought that it would kind of be similar to the Vasily Lomachenko fight. I thought that it would be kind of close. I gave the edge to Josh Taylor, but I thought that Teofimo Lopez would, athleticism and all that would really have an effect on Josh Taylor, but I was not expecting it to be, to this extent. And looking back at the fight that he had with Jack Catterall, I just thought that the reason why Jack Catterall was able to have so much success was because it seems that Josh Taylor does struggle with southpaws. Like, he struggled with Jack Catterall, he struggled with Regis Prograis. And it seems like he wasn't able to get into any type of flow or rhythm with those two fighters because they, he just wasn't as adept at fighting, southpaws as he was fighting orthodox fighters. But when he did fight orthodox fighters, he never really seemed like he had that much trouble with them. It seemed like he was able to get into his flow. It seems like he wasn't, thinking about things too much, overthinking. It seems like he could react faster. But when he fought Teofimo Lopez, a guy who was very quick, very strong, had very quick reaction times, very good head movement in this fight, had a pretty good jab in this fight, throwing a lot of power punches in this fight. It was just too much for him. He was getting completely overwhelmed by Teofimo Lopez's youth and athleticism, and there really wasn't much that Josh Taylor could do. So with that being said, honestly, if Jack Catterall would have had the power of Teofimo Lopez, that fight may have looked similar, and maybe Jack Catterall would have actually won that fight, because even though he was dominant in that fight, and he definitely did enough that I think to win that fight, if he had the power of Teofimo Lopez and he was just knocking Josh Taylor around like Teofimo Lopez was, there's no way that the judges could have gave it to him. If they did, then it would have even been a worse robbery than it already was. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Teofimo Lopez could do now, man, at 140. I'm looking forward to seeing him in there with, Jose Ramirez. I'm looking forward to seeing him in there with Regis Prograis. I'm looking forward to seeing him in there with Devin Haney when he moves up. I think that he does have the ability, as long as he stays focused and as long as he, respects the fighters in front of him. That's what I said. I was like, this guy needs to respect the fighters in front of him, that he has a chance to beat any of those guys. But that's all I gotta say about that. I mean, I would give Regis Prograis a slight advantage over him, but Jorge Ramirez, I think the Jorge Ramirez fights in the style is kind of tailor-made for a guy like Teofimo Lopez. But it would be good to see that fight as well, because it would be very action-packed. And honestly, I think Jose Ramirez might put up a better fight than Josh Taylor, because Josh Taylor has not been looking like himself for like the past couple of fights. And honestly, if he doesn't get it together, I don't know if it's due to the weight issues, like he's having trouble making weight at 140 because he's a very tall guy. I don't know if it's due to the inactivity. I don't know if he has some type of other thing going on in his life, but he has not looked good for a while now. And if he moves up to 147 like they were talking about earlier and setting up that fight with Terrence Crawford, that's going to be bad, because Terrence Crawford knocks out everybody at 147, and Josh Taylor will just be on the list of guys he knocked out, because I don't see him doing anything with Terrence Crawford if he fought the same way that he fought Jack Catterall and Teofimo Lopez. But that's all I gotta say about that, man. I'm looking forward to seeing where Josh Taylor's career goes after this. I'm looking forward to seeing what Teofimo Lopez can do at 140. Maybe he might get the fight with Rolly, fight his best friend. They could both just talk crazy to each other. That would be crazy. Because Rolly would troll the hell out of him, and since Rolly's like familiar with him, he probably knows like secrets about Teofimo Lopez. He probably knows everything to press Teofimo Lopez's buttons. And Teofimo Lopez, he would definitely he's had some crazy moments to build up to this fight, but all the stuff about taking Josh Taylor's life and all the other crazy stuff, and his dad butting in during his press conferences. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Teofimo's next fight. And as far as the fight that he has to get custody of his son, I'm hoping that it goes well. I'm hoping that him and his wife could come together, find some type of cordial agreement, figure out how to co-parent, and that that child could have both parents in his life, because I think every child needs a mother and a father. I value both roles. But that's all I gotta say about that, man. And It's me from the Average Josh podcast. I'm not editing this video because I used all my energy editing that video earlier. I was editing it after a birthday party, like literally like sitting here like, I'm just gonna edit this video on my phone, because I edit every video on my phone. I remember watching my kids editing the video during like the undercard of the fight, posting it just to look stupid. You know what I'm saying? But that's all I gotta say about that, even though it's like the 5th time I said that. Anyways, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm out.